have it happen. Yeah, that Skyline is going to be really, really difficult, I think, for G2. But that being said, I'm willing to see what they can give. I'm willing to see the mixiness come out of them. Can they get involved and in there and have the pace to match FiveFears? What do you think?
I think they can. I mean, like, it's something that I'm now contradicting myself because I said before that they can't, but or they won't. But at the end of the day, this is a professional team who gets the reps against the other professional teams who we know have really star-studded accolades, especially for Kenny. You don't expect him to be down for too long. You know that he's going to have his moment at some point. You're looking at this as well with, guys, we cannot lose to FiveFears right now. Like, this is possibly careers in Black Ops 6 on the line for some of these players too that you might be thinking about into the next year that you're fighting for. So it's not really so much that I think that they can be mixy, but it's more so they need to be in that. They need to get this done right now for G2. And Skyline, there's no better map to really get a chance to get that litmus test going.
Well, we're jumping in, guys. Pool it and all. Enjoy it, lads. It's over to you.
Now we got the Skyline already kicked off. G2 inside that initial time. FiveFears playing from the better side, but again, you can see those arrows from G2 trying to bleed into the opposite end.
Yeah, just going to slow it down here for a moment for a Skyline that we know is going to lead to high engagements, high pressure, but Capsidal feeling well protected right now as his boys go to work elsewhere. But those P2 side spawns are going to be locked in by G2. Capsidal's actually going to find one, then 3 come through in the feed, so all of a sudden you are starting to get through. There is going to be a spawn out for Nero, but there is going to be reinforcements for G2 to just continue to try and lock that down.
Geo, bottom piano, Exceed's going to remove him there. Good read onto Astrial, but G2 so far holding form on this rotation. You can see that there's an elevator push from Hixie as he's trying to get into that P2 and sneak his way through, but Kenny's going to lock him down, and things are stable for FiveFears at the moment.
Kenny, big job here at the piano. He's got 2. He's going to weaken up both as they step across each other. He does the right play by getting out of his life and allows his teammate to take over in that moment. Nero with 2, Estro with another in the feed, and Gio's covering off from the kitchen. So a fantastic start here for G2. You lose more of P1 than you probably would have liked, but this is the kind of setup that will give you plenty of confidence later on through this map. Kill from Exceed will allow you to start to push forward for the back half of this hill, but FiveFears have got to find their way through some waves.
Yeah, this is already better from Nero and Geo than we saw yesterday in particular. FiveFears, they're going to get a late break towards this. 20 seconds that you want to pick up, but there's still close respawns for G2, so nothing is guaranteed inside the scrap time. Geo's hanging around. Exceed's going to finally get him done, and the last 10 seconds might be looking at a tie game heading into P3.
Capsidal trying to find his route. Will drop low, takes bullets in the back though. Will have support though from teammates. Fire and Hixie finding 2 on the rotation over. G2 will be here to answer. The first touch will come from FiveFears, but 3 in the feed should hand it to the boys in white and well in orange on our kill feed as the 4 kills are clean. Forces FiveFears to assess this hit. You lose the first fight as well. You want a pinch to come through here really, but it looks like they're just going to turtle off and hit through mid.
Yeah, middle hit too. Back and forth trades. G2 trying to extend their lead a little bit, and with that kill on the Capsidal, that's going to secure some good time inside P3. You gotta wait for the reinforcements if you're FiveFears up the spawn. Astrial close in the quarters, waiting for the push to come through. Diving though is Capsidal all the way across his screen. 3 go down, and they break it with 20 seconds.
Yeah, there's one thing about G2. They're pretty good when it comes to rotation at hardpoints. They're not bad at breaking, but their hauls are terrible. So we get an example of that as FiveFears just bully their way in through the front off the back of some beautiful Omni movement. But Hixie now, a man who I spoke to after that major in Madrid, and he said he wanted to find himself being more aggressive, wanted to find himself on the more slaying side and stop being underestimated as a glue player, and well, stepping up here to start 10-9. Speaking of which, Fire 12-8 to get things going, a calming presence for this team when they need it most, and he's doing a great job of locking down that backside.
I wonder what it's going to be if we get a Hixie that's just putting up 40 bombs, 30 bombs. That would be something that's
I'd love to see it.
But yeah, it could really level up Hixie and his career, because I mean, this is his 3rd time back down in Challengers, trying to get back into the league once again, especially for the BO7 season. And this P4 rotation has been glorious for the FiveFears setup.
Exceed here, just holding this top bridge, bouncing really between locking down top and bottom kitchen side. Capsidal is just going to be tucked in this close corner. Slide out from Nero, will be found. Traded out though by Fire. Hixie with another over the top. Exceed's going to drop in through back bed to provide reinforcements from the front line. Great work from him. Fire's actually going to be found by Geo, who manages to get away. And Exceed is on an 8 and working towards a Hellstorm, will fall just short. But if there's one thing for FiveFears to build off from yesterday, he was their one bright light.
He was, and Exceed, he's got a point to prove. after certain stories this year. Ixie waiting for a chance underneath. Teammate's going to go down, and that's going to get him going. Green light to start this flank. All the way up the piano steps. Kenny's not going to be ready for it to go down. Now in for the contest. Geo holding strong for this time, but good shots out of Ixie, and that's going to open up some lanes.
Oh, and he's on a 4, and he knows where the rest of the pressure's coming from as well. May have just heard the zip heading up elevator 2, so he's locking this down. Geo walks next into his lane, but will be found. Beautiful headshot to clean that up in a second then from Geo. Just back forth, feeds all over the place, multi-kills absolutely on top. But as we are in our second rotation here, halfway through this first hill, it's still a very close game.
Very, very close, but 4 go down for FiveFears. Spawns are going to be all the way on the other side for G2 Esports, and 16 seconds to work through Old and see if they can put some pressure onto these players inside this P2 setup that they're looking to get going. So Estriel across this one. Fire and Capsule working on both sides of it. 3 down again, and I am hearing Exceed on stage. He is screaming.
Getting loud out there. Setting yourself up. The back half of this Skyline requires you to be at your most fluid. And Kenny will find 2 in through Kitchen. It's been a slow start for the man. 13 and 17, a lot of eyes on him right now. 3 HP in a dream, but slides out and will stay alive for now, so he could get into the back line. The boys have done the work elsewhere, so you will break. Can you hold, though? We've just spoken about how it's one of their weaknesses. Capsule cleaned out. Kenny into the hill, touches, gets down, but Exceed, he's going to be here. Damages 1, finds the second. Hixie with another. Kenny's going to drop in and will be found as well, so it's a battle now as Hixie gets himself in, and yet another break for the FiveFears. If they clean up this time, Seymour, it could be a 60-point lead.
It is fluid right now from FiveFears. They're filling every single role that they really need to, but 17 seconds on Old. P2 going to take a look back at for the scrap time. Exceed a double kill outside, and now he's going to go in for 3. It's pressure for the rotation. Everybody off the spawn going to be a P3 first for FiveFears. They have the setup.
How do you hold? Fire over the top, Capsule in the close corner. You lose your teammate supporting mid though, so the problem for Fire is you're firing on all fronts, and Geo will cut you down before you really have a chance to blink. Exceed 24 and 16, looking for the 25th and will get it. Someone slow this guy down. Knows his reputation's on the line with this tournament and willing to stand tall and prove himself as we scramble for this Kitchen Hill.
I actually think the louder Exceed gets, the straighter his shot gets. It is unbelievable the headshots he's hitting. 30 seconds though for the break back in. Estriel not going to lose it to Capsule this time around. Trying to bait and dance around this pole, and Geo has his back, so it doesn't matter if he goes down. Hixium through you. Going to be traded out, and a double kill from Nero should give some relief to this time. Estriel going to allow him to get in and soak.
Big rotation coming in now. Last time FiveFears had the money hill here at P4, but it's all about G2 trying to play in through this back line. Big fight for Nero, and you lose it to Fire, who sets himself up. Hixie from the top line. You then get at least one answered back, but for a moment, FiveFears have re-established dominance here at this bedroom hill. G2 Esports must find an early break, otherwise FiveFears threaten to run away before we hit our 3rd rotation.
Over a 30-second lead, here they come. 2 down, G2 looking to get in behind, see if they can pinch things from the front at the same exact time, but the fights on the front go loose, and Fire, he is snapping 3 in a row for Fire. He's holding this hill. Spawns don't break, and look how far you're spawning if you're G2.
You're still holding. You are still hitting the front if you are Nero here. You don't get the kill. There's a couple of trades coming through, but it's only going to favor the FiveFears. Estriel now trying to hit through closet side. You've got Geo who falls in bed. Kenny will be there to support, but you've got to push. You've got to send.
Estriel, no, he's going to go down. Capsule with the Jackal, and Fire, he is not breaking from this hill time. 5 in a row for him.
You can see in moments like that, there's that element of frustration. He wants to fly out of closet. He wants that support, but it doesn't come through. You are over 200 points if you're FiveFear. You are screaming if you're on that side of the stage.
And it's been so quiet for G2 for a couple of hills. When was the last time they had a setup? They get scrap time at P3, shutout from P4, rotating to Nil, and Kenny, he is getting shut down on these rotations. Hixie's flying at you with a pistol, for Christ's sakes. They are not afraid of anything.
Not at all. Fire then, over the top. Has a Hellstorm as well, by the way, in his back pocket, just in case. Kenny's going to try and find a way to break into this P1, but with only 25 seconds required, math difficult. You have Fire now. Finding one will not need the seconds. Capsule's there in support. You can technically close it out here, but you also have P2 side if damn well required. But Kenny's now going to find his way in through the back to at least flip that out for now and give you a lifeline, and you damn well need it.
I think FiveFears have loaded their pistols with nukes. They're shooting so good right now. Exceed 32 and 24, looking for the rotation to P2, and it has to be Estriel that shuts him down. The timing's good. Estriel wins the fight, but he is surrounded by blue arrows.
Estriel in through the back here. He's got to go massive and finds two. One with the pistol, but there's more numbers here. As Capsule finds a kill, you're going to have Geo nearby. Kenny's going to try and apply pressure too. Finds one. This must be a hold. This must be beautiful from G2. Otherwise, FiveFears win it here. So what does your setup look like? Kenny's going to try and watch over the back, but Nero's going to be overrun at piano. So what do you have in return?
They're here. Still fights going back and forth. Kenny, a big win to keep FiveFears away from this hill, but it's Exceed. He is unbreakable, unbeatable right now. Geo does not care about it, as he's going to be trying to get as much time for G2. Still holding on to this. 12 points is all FiveFears need.
Capsule's underneath you. I think you've missed him if you're Kenny, so he could get you in the back. He does, but Estriel's there for the trade at least. So you're going to hold on for just a little bit longer. Not long now, and the FiveFears will just chalk this hill. Rotate into kitchen. They've been pretty good there, and the very worst, they're happy to try and trade it. Geo, the big, important player in this play, because you've got to watch over from kitchen and cut these plays down.
He's got help too. Exceed, he is surrounded. So G2, they have the transition over towards the next hill. Sitting inside, this comeback is starting, but a 3 go down, and it's Kenny. He's got to go big in this moment. Slides out from you. Hixie's deleted. Kenny is here, even 32 and 32, keeping the team in it.
Talked about him at the top. TK Ken, Kylo Ken, that's the man that so many of us want to see yet again. What a second it would be to turn up as your back's against the wall. You do lose the fight to Hixie, but delay for long enough as Estriel finds two inside the hill. FiveFears will have that P4 rotation on. That's what they need to undo because they've been so good there, but G2 are fighting back.
If they don't break this, it's a tie game. G2 might look to flip this. Still fights inside the hill. Nero on 5 HP, not able to get past Capsule. Estriel, it's his turn now, but the trades keep on going. We have 10 seconds left for FiveFears, and there's 13 at hold. Exceed not able to get in. We're going to another hill.
The spawns are flipped as well. G2 have played on through for them, so you have the opportunity to take this away finally from FiveFears. Fire will find two, finds a third into the point as well. Has that Hellstorm to work with, could use it to break open this back setup. Will call it in. The boys need to work off the back of it.
Late from Kenny. He's going to be behind everything. Exceed, though, traded. 2 go down, 3 go down, and Kenny is going to save the day. G2, they're in.
It's the worst case scenario. You call in that Hellstorm. You're hoping that your boys can activate off the back and G2 figure it all out. Nero with another. Estriel up top here watching high. It's 2-1 in favor of the boys in white. You need 20 more seconds. The comeback has happened.
8, Estriel, he's behind it all. 20 seconds, that's what you need, and you are fighting individual fights right now. FiveFears, they're throwing it away. Exceed in the back, or Hixie is here, has help with Capsule, but slowly G2 are bringing this one back. FiveFears, they're in, 3 more seconds. Estriel, he's got to fly, but Hixie shuts him out, and they save the day when it was almost a fumble. Andrew, I don't know what's up with us casting a Skyline, but G2, they almost brought it back. FiveFears, it is sweat off your brows with a win in the column.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a Skyline that starts with one team dominance, a big comeback that then falters, don't worry, we've got you covered up here because me and Seymour, apparently we love them. But well, FiveFears will be absolutely loving that. Yes, it is closer than you like in the end, but you've still taken a very important map one. Looked brilliant throughout so much of it, and it's the composure there at the end. Yeah. Yes, the Hellstorm doesn't necessarily work, but off the back of the moving pieces, you find your progress in through hedges if you are the likes of Hixie, and you end up with just enough to see it out.
This is kind of what we were setting up to for this underdog story. You come into a Skyline, you have a team like FiveFears. When they get going on this map, they have that fear to them. They have that fire to them where they just are so aggressive in those setups. Hixie was saying himself that they just feel like they're on a different level in terms of that pace in comparison to other challengers teams. And we saw that at DreamHack. We saw that towards Champs. Like, they level up, and this is a map that treats them well in that aspect. And when you have Fire and Exceed at the same time, feeling good as ARs, you get to those P2s, you get to those P4s, and suddenly it's really hard to deal with all of that. I mean, Exceed was a walking two-piece across that map. That's probably one of the best Exceed maps I've seen in quite a while.
That guy was a thunderclap walking across the map. I mean, you got to remember as well here, by the way, all 4 of these players have been in that top echelon. Their reputations are well and truly on the line. For players like Exceed, your stock's been pretty low for a while now. You've not, it feels almost he's in that kind of situation where he can't win. Doesn't matter how he performs sometimes, he's still got that reputation of, we don't really see him up here towards the top end. So he's coming out here to make a huge point that he can mix with the best, and well, showed up big time then.
I will say for G2, I mean, what a chance for that comeback. You had just hill rotations, transitions working out. You flip those spawns over towards P4. You get that P3 break at the same time. And P2 is just an absolute trade fest. They're just like, as long as we get past P2, we have a chance for this. And they did. You know, you saw Kenny was having a great map. That was a big focus for us going into this map. Is Kenny going to perform? He's here. He's playing so well against this FiveFears team. And not only that, I think that it's just a high engagement map in general. It exceeds 41 and 35, but look across the board for G2. Nobody was really behind at all.
No, absolutely. I think the one thing is just you just get going too late. They make good adjustments to finally rip away that P4 setup and do better on the P2 previously. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, we are off and underway. We are rolling quickly here on the B stream, and it will be off to our Hacienda Search and Destroy.
So what do we see? Attack for FiveFears, defense for G2. Already, Nero's in a really aggressive spot towards top spiral. Doors are closed, so Hixie, he's got to read this one. He does not first blood on Nero.
Looking to slow it down here. Look at Capsidor on that long wrap. He's trying to find a different angle in towards this, and well, Exceed will be outnumbered. Fire answers back. Capsidor does collapse in at the right time to find the two players. Central courtyard with support from Fire. Kenny looking out over the top, decides to disengage, will be split from Geo for a moment.
And that's where you have information onto where Fire is. You know, Capsule was over towards P4, and Kenny's going to get information onto both of these players. Feeding that back over to the rest of your team. Geo, he's going to know this one. Capsule, he's pinned. You know exactly where he is, and he's out the window.
Kenny.
He's going back in.
Will have completely missed this. Might get hit through the back. I think he's read it now. He understands the timings. Beautiful work from him, and well, Capsule, you will still be alive with only 15 seconds on the clock. You've not got many options, and that will be clean. Beautiful work from Kenny there to read the situation. To be fair, the only reason you're still in that round if you're FiveFears, great work from Capsidor, just hitting that play in through Rock side to clean up in mid. Otherwise, look pretty clean from the boys over on G2.
Yeah, it was great timing from Kenny, too, over the fences. I mean, it doesn't get better than that at all. And you saw that Geo was on the other side. He sets up towards Patio, and you know they're going through Bridge. There's only one way to go from Secret. So both of them pinch on either side. Kenny gets the good timing there. And suddenly you're working off that momentum you started to gain towards the end of that hard point. You get the first one done. And it's a defensive shutdown too. So it's a big round for G2.
Heavy towards B goes the bomb. With a lack of mid-map presence, FiveFears are going to understand that this is now the play coming through. Trophy goes off. Fire will find the first blood onto Kenny, and that will force Estriel to back off. Doesn't feel comfortable at all, but you're missing mid-door presence from Capsidor.
Yeah, that's the right call because Hixie's here. They don't know it, but he's waiting for that bomb to get planted. Nero's getting a ton of information over towards A. He is maybe trying to work over towards the patio. And he wants a trade to see if he can bring this into a 3 versus 3. Office doors open, and Capsule, he is not going to be beaten this time.
What does that leave G2 with? Presence towards A?
They feel like they need a kill.
Feels like they're trying to essentially double bluff this. Try and force FiveFears to move a little bit, catch them on a rotation, but you're not being handed anything for free. Estriel will step out on the chase, won't find out where his opponent is, and well, that makes it a 1v4. And I love you, Geo. You're pretty good at this game, but it's a big ask, and it'll be too much of an ask. Clean on the defense as well from FiveFears. Got to say, that first blood, huge. Shuts down Kenny. That bomb plant then doesn't come through. And I think one of the big things as well there is you lack that early intel, but they very quickly assess the situation and realize, well, if they're not here and not there, by process of elimination, we know what we want to do next.
And you can see in the minds of G2 feeling like, okay, we lose that first blood. We need a kill before we get that bomb planted now.
Yep.
Nero was in such a good spot to just hold that space, get the information, make sure that nobody was pushing back over towards A. You just got to let that bomb plant come through before you start pushing even further. All the doors are closed. You have no real estate. You have no information gathered. So you're really just shooting blanks out there. And I think FiveFears, they recognized that all they needed to do was wait for those mistakes to come through, and G2 feed into it. So next one up, you see it almost lines up 3. Hixie's going to go down in the scrimmage, and Capsule, he finds one, but it's still a 3 versus 2.
Yeah, you'll happily take that if you are G2. You back off. You essentially conga line it through the Lambo side. And well, Capsule's about to... Well, I thought he was about
this is
to run
plan.
into you. Gets the plant down. Well, Capsule's trying to play around Intel and picks the wrong door. So shots in the back. 1v3 on the cards for Exceed. Gonna have to play around the bomb, but he's got a long timer here.
This guy was nuking on that Skyline. Timing's not going to pay off, though. He's going to get shot in the back. 74 HP. Challenge comes through. Diffuse already begins. Lots of time to get it done. And you're going to give it to Nero. See if you can get a little bit closer to that RCXD. And that's a good round from G2. Now up 2-1.
Yeah, G2 continuing to be good with those first bloods when it comes to their defensive rounds. It's been something they've been able to lean on through the year, but also on that conversion then of that first blood. Plus retake. This is systematic. This is G2 Esports defensive S&D, basically in a nutshell. Great work there. And it's that conga line that comes through. You've got the numbers advantage. Sometimes we see teams try and push around and out and wide for information, but they recognize, well, this team are going to go on plan. We can force that fight into a small area and use our numbers.
Yeah, so big question is, can teams win an offense? It's the same thing that we said in our last match with Gentleman's. It went, I think, 4 rounds before we actually saw an offensive round win, and Astral's trying to will his team to one here in round 4. First blood traded by a nade, and I like this call from Astral to get active in behind, but there's going to be nobody seen. Geo catches the flank, gives numbers to G2.
You slow it down. You are so split if you are the two FiveFears players. Can hand you a lot of intel, but also leaves you extremely vulnerable. And, well, Capsule's about to get some incredibly bad timing. He doesn't recognize Nero's on the plant, will be given up as well, and Geo makes that clean. So Exceed in another 1v3 situation.
I was going to say, if Capsule could win that fight, that would have been a rough post-plant for G2, but instead, Capsule not going to get through the first one, and G2 take an offensive round, push their lead up by 2 inside of this Hacienda S&D, and I like calls from that. It's bold to go for the splits, keep 2 players into like patio and bridge, allow for that solo player to go for the plant on B, but if you have the info, if you're very confident, it really works out because you're able to make sure that nobody has control through office.
Well, one of the things that they like to do as well here, the G2, they like to have this like almost counter pinch situation. They recognize the 2 players are going to have to go towards the bomb, and they will arrive in a wave behind them. And it's one of the things that's definitely worked out for them when it comes to those post-plant situations. So great work.
Makes sense. It's like a spitting image of what I would expect from this G2 team.
They're doing a great job so far, and they, well, need to, considering they lose that map 1. Stunned here, but finding their footing on the Hacienda search. Bomb's going to go down. This is going to be a classic 4v4 retake. Now, G2 typically good at retakes, but this is going to be far from easy.
Poor Exceed. I don't know how you're still alive. Shots were good, but not good enough. First blood from Hixie. Now loose into the top of offices. Exceed's going to double down, but still traded out by Nero. 2 versus 3 for the retake. Capsule gets the information, throwing shoulders, just looking to play his life, goes back in. Astral gets beamed, and FiveFears looking for an offense of their own. There it is, back to a 1-round game.
Beautiful work there from Capsule. You lose that fight, it turns into a 2v2. You end up in this situation where your boys can definitely be collapsed on around the bomb. Felt like he was almost winding up a sucker punch there, just backs off, baits the opponent in, and then springs, releases himself off into that fight. So great stuff. FiveFears there on the offense. And no hesitation. We saw earlier on, G2 had a situation where they're slow to plant the bomb. No such thing from FiveFears. Just straight down. Let's get on with it. Let's make this 4v4 fight happen.
So now you got to go back-to-back if you want to keep this one even. If you're FiveFears, G2 looked a lot better in this search and destroy than they did yesterday versus Cloud9. You can see that they've been working on some chemistry. First bloods, what you're going to be looking for here. Information from Nero, stunned up. He's just going to get away, but in the mix, Geo goes down.
So far, first bloods have come on top here, but Astral's in through the back line. And, well, actually, I love this from FiveFears. They are just going to group up. They're happy to let this plank come through. They're happy to set themselves up a retake.
Play with those lives. Astral's going to throw a shoulder, but he stays a little bit too long. Good shots from Exceed's going to keep this one forward for FiveFears. Now for the retake. As they are taking their sweet time. Nero and Kenny. Let's see it. Kenny with some good shots. In comes the next one. You lose out on Nero and Kenny. Not going to expect the quick chow from Hixie. The teamwork from FiveFears looking very good there. I like the call to just wait.
Yeah, First Blood's coming out on top at the minute. It is 3 apiece. That will obviously tie us up at 3 apiece as well. But it's also one of those moments from FiveFears that plays a big mental game. Bomb plant comes through. Typically, the team with the lives, the team that's got to try and retake this bomb, quite aggressive on the retake, but they wait.
Yeah.
They bide their time, and then they strike when it suits them. And that later on, when we get to post-plant situation, suddenly asks a couple questions for G2. Are they going to hit us quickly because we know this is a very aggressive FiveFears team, or are they going to wait, and it leaves them in a very uncomfortable position?
I think it's the right call to make, and it's a different look than we are used to with FiveFears. You're naturally a quick team, so that's one thing they said kind of bites them in the behind. And this time around, they're showing some different dynamics. G2 now 2 rounds lost in a row, looking to deny a 3rd one. Back onto the defensive side. It's going to be a quick attack to B. All 4 members here. Fire, yeah, he's not going to sit around. He's going to join them.
On plant coming through. Pixie gets it down. You get backed up if you are Fire, and well, you're pro. And to work, and oh good lord, this is just an ongoing fight forever. Kenny finds the blood though elsewhere. Hixie's trying to control through the mid. A huge fight for Fire. Finds one, but not enough. Hixie's on his own 1v3.
Yeah, 1v3. Waddy's got a sub. It's going to be a tough one to retake as 3 members. Everybody's just got to look through that middle door. Hixie's not going to get through, and G2, they retake. That was some lovely work between Estriel and Nero against Fire. I'm sure Fire's like, how is this guy not one-shot when he goes back in for the chow? But 2 different players.
Yes.
And that's what you like to see from G2, not getting over-aggressive. It's something that was almost frustrating yesterday to watch against that Cloud9 team, is that every single time you were watching somebody from this G2 squad, they just wanted to fly, chow everything, and it's not going to cut it. We saw how that went. This time around, they're not doing that, and it's paying off in dividends. So, going into this one, Nero's got the RCXD. Now it's going to look for some information towards mid. You have a player in secret, and you're getting a hard read from FiveFears. They want to shut down any attempt over towards B, but instead, Nero's missed out on this timing through mid from Exceed. He's hunting for the player with the RC car. He doesn't see him, but Exceed's all the way in the back, and Giro luckily saves Nero's life.
Weird situation there coming through for sure. Nero now getting his stun out. He's going to try and ingress towards the top halls. What do you find? Well, Capsule is actually going to turn and find 2. So 3 for him in the round. He will be traded out, but, well, 1v2 then for Estriel in what has been an incredibly peculiar round. FiveFears will have the advantage and the ability to tie this up, but Bomb's going to be down at A.
If there's somebody who's going to even this one up, is somebody like Estriel. Bomb's going to be recovered. 30 seconds to unravel any sort of defensive attempt that FiveFears are going for, and he's going to go up the spiral. Does he take this one to B? No, it's going to re-clear his bridge, get this plant down. A 50-50 call is going to pay off for G2, and FiveFears now get to retake in the 2 versus 1.
They're aggressive on it, though. They recognize the timing, so he must have headed to the A site. They're quick on top of this. Everyone passes each other like ships in the night, but Estriel, you got to go and check. You have to check your bomb, and well, you don't, and that's what happens. Hixie just hops the instant defuse, and well, I got to give credit to FiveFears there. They recognize there's 10 seconds left on the timer. They immediately begin that rotation from B to A, and because of that, I think if you are setting up in that post-plant situation, you think you've got more time. You think that you've got the opportunity to check that bomb maybe in another 10 seconds or so, but because you're so proactive, if you're FiveFears, you've already gotten there, you've already hopped it.
Bold call, right call to make. I mean, I think there's no reason not to just jump that right now. If you're Hixie, you get no information on where that player is, and he could be going for the longest route you absolutely could see. But Estriel just wanted to let it breathe for a second, see if he was scammed any kills. 4-4 we go, back onto the attack for FiveFears, now getting late into this search and destroy round, and this is usually when we see FiveFears break.
Yeah, you spoke about it before. Round 11s are not their friend. We get ever closer. They're looking to put rounds back to back here to avoid that situation. Exceed will get the bomb down. Will be that front hit again from G2, but it's only going to be Estriel there. You are waiting for some sort of free first blood here, and it's not coming.
Last time it was Kenny to open up with the first blood, and you had 2 players flanking through P2. This time, Hixie on the lane flank. Nero's going to read it. First blood again. Kenny falls up, and everybody falls apart. Beautiful from G2.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned for a moment there because they tried to do what FiveFears did earlier. Slow it down. We're not going to fly you immediately. We're going to catch someone potentially hitting a late rotation or counter pinch or some sort of flank, give ourselves the first blood, then use the numbers to overwhelm the site. And instead, well, they just find the mid door, fly through it, and win every gunfight and analyze it as much as you like. G2 there showing that extra bit of prowess when it comes to their ability to just slay out around that site. So FiveFears then, they didn't want a round 11, but they would rather have that than fall in round 10. So what does it look like? G2 to move the bomb, decide where they want to play out. Offensively, it's been shaky from them so far as FiveFears have managed their retakes.
2 chances to win the map if you're G2. First blood for Kenny. Capsule gets caught through mid, trying to make a quick play into you, and that's going to spark a plant on this B site immediately. Oh, no. And Hixie goes down to a nade. He's going to at least soften the blow a little bit, but it has to be a 2v3 retake. Exceed quickly flanking.
Trying to set up a pinch. Exceed's got to win this fight. You do in the end with Geo with the wall bang. Fire then trying to collapse in through the opposite side because G2, you've escaped out through the mid.
Fire's just going to wait. Exceed reads it like a book. 1 versus 2. Nero split on either side, has to take the fights up front. 24 seconds, brings it down to just him and Exceed. Would be a clutch. 1 versus 1, look for the ace, but Nero shuts him down and puts the map away, avoiding the round 11.
Great work from Nero there. It's one of those weird situations. I think you get all of that intel about where the G2 players are exiting from. You spot 2 leaving through that mid door, and you set up to catch them on the rotation. But when it's only the one player that you find, you have no intel on where Nero's gotten out to. And because you are so split as the 2 remaining FiveFears players, it turns it into individual one-on-ones. And, well, we know who out on that stage looks great when we get those moments.
I mean, this G2 team, they're not going to go belly up. That's one thing we know for sure. You lose the hard point, you get into the search and destroy so much better than what happened versus Cloud9 just yesterday. And Lottie was wondering, you know, what's going to change for this team? The main thing that was really bugging me was the fact that they just felt like they could kill everything, anytime, and were solo challenging so often versus C9 yesterday. This time around, so many opportunities where you bait and switch, you play together, the teamwork coordination was on point, and it wasn't just let's hit a site, get a kill, get that bomb down fast. So many methodical first bloods and a great pace from that team.
I love that you bring up the first bloods because this is something that I touched on earlier on. Typically, this G2 team are awful when it comes to their defensive first bloods, but they are brilliant at conversion. So getting that first blood, they often win it on the defensive side of things. They managed to get a lot of the first bloods on the defensives this time, so they're fixing that problem, often through the adjustments that you just mentioned, and then still converting. So taking a weakness, turning it into something that works towards one of their strengths.
What a difference that round could be if Exceed makes that play through mid, down spiral, and instead of looking left, he looks right. Geo really saved the day in that round. The fact that he catches Exceed that aggressive. Not to mention that, you know, round 10, you get a teammate from Exceed onto Hixie. He almost aces the round too, but it could have been a lot easier for that retake if you had Hixie along for the ride with you. They almost get it done in the 2 versus 4, but G2, they weather the storm, tie things up 1-1. That gives us a story now to work with.
It does, indeed. We get a quick look at the scoreboard. A struggle of a map from Hixie. He's mentioned wanted to get more involved in the aggressive side of things, but only 379 damage. Didn't see much of the action. Taking a quick look at the first blood situation, though. It's going to be 3 on the board for Kenny on a 9-7 performance and 3 assists. Had himself a hell of a map. There's obviously so many questions around him right now, but 1,500 damage in an S&D, that's a way to answer back.
So much. Kenny's looking good. The team's looking good. G2, they bounce back. Hacienda control coming up after this break. We got ourselves a battle on the B stream. FiveFears, our challengers representatives inside of Group A. They strike first on the Skyline Hardpoint with a really emphatic performance from Exceed. G2, they answer back in the search and destroy. Cool, calm, collected. The team is turning up now in day 2 of EWC. Andy, going into the swing map mode combo. Hacienda Control up next. Give me a little bit of a vibe check.
Yeah, so it's a weird one, right? Because typically the team in Respawn fancy themselves more in the control. There's obviously an underdog story, so it's how much that factors in. You come off the back of the S&D win if you are G2. And then we talk about the map as well. It's Hacienda. This is usually an area that G2 like to ban out. They don't want to play around here. They're a very strong defensive control team. They're not very good on the offense. So that's kind of where I'm looking for differences here. Can we see your star players come into this? Well, one of them sitting right at the end of that desk there, that's going to be Kenny. Had himself a good map 1, had himself a great map 2. And no doubt if you're alongside him up on that stage right now, you're saying, look, lead us through this swing map, get us leading into the back half of this series.
It's the one thing, if Kenny can really step up for this team in terms of slaying, bring it, this team looks good. The same thing we say about Nero. When Nero's hot, it's when you see G2 winning. It's when he's cold that they really struggle. And, you know, for Kenny, it's been a rough year for Black Ops 6. But you guys got to remember, he is a world champion.
Oh, yeah.
He is a 2-time world champion. So he can bounce back. He can play well. He knows how to play Call of Duty, as a matter of fact. It's no surprise.
No, he is indeed. And the thing is, well, him coming online is a great thing because right now one of the big strengths for FiveFears has been Exceed. Had himself a phenomenal map 1, arguably the difference maker out there. And you need those ARs to be shutting him down. Kenny, of course, looking to see him step up in those fights and be a big part of controlling those lanes and allowing your subs to roam freely. And here on Hacienda Control, again, if you are going to start to fix your offensive woes, you need your ARs over the top providing you that protection.
Yeah, you do. It's desperate at this point. Avoid the reverse sweep. That's a big deal. You couldn't see it from Orchid. They got the control, but you couldn't get it into that map 5 situation. The hard points just weren't all there. Now you go into the control, back into the respawns for G2. The teamwork's been fantastic so far today. I got to see that continue into this map.
Do indeed. G2 will be on the defense first then. So this is, despite the fact we're on Hacienda, typically their bread and butter. There's a bit of a longer fight than Nero probably would have liked. Does fight Exceed though and turns and cuts down fire. You are going to have reinforcements coming in above you from Hixie though, so he will clean you out. And it's a bit of a mismatch on the map here, but Kenny turns and finds another. It's only going to be Capsidal who slipped the net for a moment. But in that, he then finds Kenny. So it's a bit back, forth, and, well, all over the place as we enter the Matrix, come back on out, and G2 Esports find themselves a couple of kills.
I mean, I don't know what just happened, but that was crazy. You know, I am such a big Nero fan. You guys, when you see him click it, it looks so effortless on the reads that he has. And now on the flank, he's looking to do a little bit more damage, not going to get through fire, but Gio right there to step up alongside him. Spawn trap ensues for FiveFears. You got Capsidal looking to do anything he can over towards B, and at least he's going to give some chances for his team to break out of their spawn.
Another hit coming through for FiveFears towards this B side, but the 2 kills go the way of G2, and again, showing their defensive prowess here. So good at opening up with those first couple of kills. Capsule does well for 2, especially that second one, sliding around the back of Shed, but Kenny's going to try and squeeze the reinforcements. The body gets onto A and Capsule. Gio will find one, then try and help out on this A push, give that angle. If he just checked over the top side, doesn't need to because Estriel's there. There will be a little bit of a half attempt from Fire, but that is everything. A whimper of an offensive round out of FiveFears. G2 just continuing to show why they're so good at this.
That is probably the best round of control I have seen from G2 in quite a while. They really put their foot down. They didn't want FiveFears to break out at all, even when Capsule gave them that chance to get out of spawn. It's just, it didn't matter. The time was low, the kills weren't going your way. You had Nero kick this game off 6-1, just constantly putting pressure on those spawns and snap into a couple players, make it look easy.
The thing is, well, FiveFears were never allowed to be comfortable. There's constant pressure from G2 up in places like lobby. You're never really getting out through fences or towards well at all to support that B push, and as such, you need a bit of a miracle to happen, and, well, FiveFears don't get it. 60 starts 1-6 himself, but now G2 with their chance to go on the offense, and a different looking hit here. Nero's going to go on a wide route and could well be a difference maker as everyone squares up in mid.
Hixie's in the other world right now. Seeing if he and Exceed can get things going on this defense. So there it is. Trades come through. Nero's going to hop the point. More killing this first tick. Giro above him. The shot's going to be able to assist this one through. Nice shots from Nero on the headshot towards Capital, and Fire just not able to get into an area to contest this zone. Nero gets the tick, he gets out of there, and G2 really composed right now. Not really giving anything up for free, but FiveFears still going to rip it away from you.
Maestro finds the first there, so G2 will have numbers should they reinforce this, but Hixie's actually got through Lambo, so he could be a big problem. Exceed finds Nero. Hixie will now be in through the back line, but he's hoping his teammates do something out front, and Capsule finds both. So they'll have no information that Hixie's this close. That stun will give it to you if you are G2, so Hixie's position is up. The gig is up, and there's actually going to be a push in through Lambo. They're going to miss him for a moment.
This is a full flip from G2. You don't normally see teams do this too often. All three members going to be pushing through P4. See if he can flip this map out.
Oh,
Fire,
good shots.
he reads it, but Geo a little bit straighter off of those shots. Capital at least going to do some damage to the players off the respawn, bleed those lives down even more. As Geo's going to hop that zone, stall this time a little bit more, and put some pressure onto the players around from FiveFears. They draw away. Can anybody follow up? Kenny going to break through that spiral. Give them a chance here with 21 seconds.
Yeah, that's the problem. You've got the timer, so you've got to try and dive this at some point. Kenny waits for the regen to come through, then wants to slide out, but Fire finds two. Kenny with yet another. Stunned up, though. Will get support in from Geo, so you find both kills. You want this second tick to come through. It's so damn close. 5 seconds, well, 6, sorry, on your clock, going to be available. You're just hoping that this rolls through without a contest. But a couple of kills in the top holes mean you lose your bodies, but you do get that second tick at least to G2. And Geo, he's trying to progress towards B. Shut down, cut down. But 2 ticks will put you in the lead after 1 offensive round each.
It's like the worst feeling ever when you see that stun just fly across your screen when you're trying to rush to that zone with only 6 seconds left. As soon as it hits, I mean, that was it for the round, but you got to give it to FiveFears, bouncing back after what was an abysmal round 1 offense.
Well, I mean, we'll give it some credit as well to G2. I think their breakoff's incredibly clever. I think you have this push out through mid. It's more traditional, but the fact that Nero's on that wide wrap, if you win the kills in mid, he can collapse in and support. If you don't, he can go on that wide wrap and get in through the back line. They give themselves so many options, and those are the things that could be the difference between them going from an awful offensive team to a pretty good one.
And it's even the difference in usually when you see teams on the offense in Hacienda, it's the same thing over and over again. You go through Secret, you go through Spiral, or Arches, but the fact that they even threw in a P4 push, they're throwing shots at this FiveFears team.
They are indeed figuring things out as they go. FiveFears now need to figure out how to put some offense together. Capsule's 14-7, so he's doing his part, but needs a bit of love over the top. And well, you're going to lose Capsule in the opening engagement as Nero finds one. Exceed considers the wide wrap, going to then back up to try and support his teammates who are continuing to try and push this A site. And that's one of the things I think that FiveFears are struggling with right now. You lose that first blood, you probably want to slow it down, find a couple of kills. Instead, there's still bodies trying to push into dangerous areas of the map. And FiveFears, I'm a fan of Exceed slowing things down for a moment, but G2 Esports, they have a lot of map presence here.
Yeah, I'm just going to hop the zone, see if you can draw anybody away for now. Slow burn in for FiveFears. Going to have to find some kills, though. Exceed off that patience. It's not going to pay off. Capsule looking to clear their spawn. He turns around. Still back and forth trades. Nobody has found a break just yet of the offense. And Hixie going to give him a chance. Gets away with 5 HP. Geo tracks him down. And back and forth just continues to go through. 38 seconds are down to. FiveFears going to have to choose soon where to go.
Well, every time FiveFears try and get involved in a gunfight, if they have 4 bodies, they lose that first fight every single time. So you're hoping for someone to find a 2-piece, a 3-piece to really give you a chance to step on the point. You've missed Estriel completely. He finds one, has the information on the second. Capsule will try and slip away, gets himself onto a heady. It will do nothing for him. 4 dead in the feed, and FiveFears' offense continues to struggle.
Well, you said to me after game 1, that was Exceed's takeover game. He was so good on that Skyline. 7-13, can't say the same for this control, and G2 have just had his number all game long. Yeah, Capsule's having a great game. Fire, he's there as well, but you're not getting that consistency across the rest of the board like we saw. 0.8 seconds. Do they have some clutch to get some segments here? Because you need them to at this point. Exceed, try to get anything he can with these segments. Geo's going to shoot him in the back. That clock is going to tick down, and G2 with another defense.
Just coming back to those first engagements every time, it feels like if there are 4 FiveFears players alive, they will die first. And then eventually you would just end up in a trade situation where G2 are always making progress across the map. So beautiful work from them. We go back into a G2 offense, and I spoke about the break-off last time, how that was creative, but you then also spoke about how when they were pushed towards those back gates, they played out through Lambo, out towards P4 together as a group. They almost flipped the map, pushed the FiveFears team into a spot where it's like, okay, we know you're over there because we have this side. We never saw that right there from FiveFears. We never saw a moment where they kind of came together on the same wavelength and made a plan happen. So for G2, it's continuing to assess what they look like, not only when it's going well, but when they get punched in the mouth.
You need a plan. You need something to at least break what has been such a relentless defense from this G2 team. Anything to go your way, and I'm going to just kind of say the easy, low-hanging fruit. You need Hixie and Exceed to start shooting a little bit better in this game.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I'm not sure what G2's first offense was, or sorry, FiveFears' first offensive round was, but at the same time, you're going into this one, you get a segment here, it's probably locked in that you're going to get that defense round 5 no matter what.
G2 fine progress towards 10, but will be shut down. Contest is in. Bit of a pinstripe feed. Nero with 2 will be found by Exceed, and then that goes the way of Geo. Fire then in a big 1v1. You'll actually lose track of Geo, who's going to get himself up towards that top plat. Might be a thorn in the side. Fire staying alive for now and constantly being a nuisance, but that third tick's going to come through. Unfortunately, a team kill for G2, so that's 3 dead. Nero's got to go big by himself, and just by staying alive, just by being a thorn in the side, he's doing well, but it doesn't last for very long. It does, however, last long enough for Geo to get close by.
It's going to delay any kind of setup that FiveFears can get going on this defensive side. Hixie's looking for some angles down low, but a lot of these members of G2 have pushed into some premier positions in through the top extremity of this map. Capsule's going to turn around. Big fight win versus Geo. Stops any segments on that second tick for B. But it's still 1 by 1. G2 trying to trickle over towards this B zone. And they just haven't been able to shut down Capsule on the flank just yet. Finally, they do. Double stack. This should be a capture, but it's going to be a single stack progress going slow to get it done.
Yeah, if you can, you just want to throw surely. You don't want to overstray here. Make sure this B comes through without much drama. And the thing as well, as you capture that B, you then find a kill as well. So it should make that transition a little bit easier. Estrel's big fight on his hands, finds Fire. You have missed Hixie getting through, who will hold off your spawners. But right now, you're winning the fights on the front. You have the numbers.
Yeah, you want to hop the zone? Go ahead, hop the zone at this point. Nobody's going to stop you except for Hixie. Backs up from that spawn, assisting the team. That's good support. Reset. FiveFears looking for those positions to maybe set up a spawn trap, bleed out some of that clock. Lives aren't really bountiful right now on either side, so there's a chance that this one could end in lives and not even the time at this point.
Nero will get the stun and nade come through, finds Hixie, flushes him out of this secret. Geo will also find a kill off the back as well. You're trying to weigh up this hit. You've got a minute 5 to try and make it happen. Only 1 life difference. You're not too concerned about that right now, but on every life worth that little bit more when we play control, and moments like that will slow you down if you're G2. And well, Exceed, he finds a big one. Needs to find a couple more. And well, right now, G2 looking to weigh up with 50 seconds to go.
All right, Hixie's brought this one back, and you can slowly see Exceed starting to heat back up into this game, which is good for FiveFears. Looking to put this one into a round 5, but it is going to have to be a deep offensive round win if they want to take this map away from G2. First of all, you get it a break back in, still a chance in a 3 versus 5. Fire goes down. There's a route open over towards A. Surely this one doesn't get thrown away.
Exceed falls to Estrel. 3v4 then. It is search and destroy inside a TDM essentially. As Nero finds more progress. You need 2 more ticks. The kills will do it though, and that's a 3v2. Turn it into a 2v2. 23 seconds left on the clock.
You don't want to give up a kill here. Estrel hunting for the player up top. Timing not going to pay off. Capsule just waiting in lie. Kenny alone on the point. Fire's not going to let it end here. We're going to a round 5. FiveFears have a chance to take another respawn. And G2 are making it difficult. They're making you use every last ounce of that tank to get through this series.
The one thing for FiveFears, of course, is they did not manage a single tick on offense through their 2 rounds. It was timid, is probably a kind word for it, and so it needs to be better.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening without Hixie continuing that bit of a run that he's just managed to achieve, because quite frankly, G2 have been a great defensive control team for some time. So this, for me now, all about this break-off. Is it going to be something that you've maybe saved into your playbook that you're hoping to bring out in special moments? Because if so, this would be the perfect time to do so.
Yeah, at least you have Hixie playing a little bit better. That's going to make this round a lot more composed for FiveFears. But G2 on their defense, it has been nothing but the belt. So let's see if they can get it going here in round 5. Estrel, Nero, Estrel again. 3 go down. Hixie, he's going to drop as well. Estrel pops off with 3 in a row. And that's the spawn trap already.
Just when we talk about those breakups, when we talk about those first engagements and how FiveFears aren't winning them right now, it's repeated in front of us. Estriel finds the nade as well. You're bottlenecking this FiveFears squad through fences. Fire finds two at least to relieve that pressure. Capsule with another. That's much more like it from FiveFears, managing to stand tall here for a moment, but they don't read Geo inside of lobby. So you have the numbers here to hit this if you are G2 to retake, but Fire, who's found himself a great start to this map, continues to be a nuisance, but, well, it's on to the point and bit of desperation.
Double stack in, Kenny. He's going to spot the player over towards 10. Hixie drops back, so you do have a little bit of reprieve for the rest of the players to now join you. Kenny loses his fight to Exceed inside the halls. Estriel knows he's going to have some players pushing in. Capsule just down low. Nobody's going to rate that one. Geo able to trade 24 seconds already.
Yeah, we are at a point where FiveFears just have to dive time. And again, it just comes back to the fact that you're not seeing out these traded engagements. Geo slips on, trying to find the player that's on the point. Will get shot in the back just a little bit. Gets damage into Hixie, but Fire and Hixie will find kills themselves. You got to start to stack. You got to start to find a way. It's only Hixie through, to be honest. Yeah. And you've only got 10 seconds on time. He dies. Can anyone even get close?
That's the big question. Hixie was hoping the rest of the team could get there in time. He just needed to play his life. Exceed, only player in a position to touch one of these zones. G2 looking to go up in this series, take the swing map mode combo, and lead 2-1 over FiveFears.
And when we set it up, we talked about how G2 were a phenomenal defensive team in control, sometimes a bit weaker on their offense. Hacienda's not an easy place to play offense, to be fair, and they don't really like Hacienda, so they make the best of the world that they are put into, but their defense stands strong. Not a single tick given up across 3 rounds.
That's insane.
Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous. But for FiveFears, it was so often a rinse and repeat. The breakoffs were bad. Trying to win any engagement in a 4v4 was bad, and it felt like you were constantly in an attempt to recover situation. There were flashes of moments where it looked like they might start to get something going, but so often we were talking about Exceed struggling out there. Hixie did manage to get going, but it took him a little bit longer than he probably would have liked. And trying to play 2v4 against a squad like this on control, not easy.
It was kind of shown inside of that Hardpoint. This isn't a team that's going to have a superstar to just take over that map. It's still a full team effort to get over that finish line. G2 almost brought it back on that Skyline. It could have been a 3-0 here. But you have that chance to go to 4 by taking away that hard point. You go back into another hard point, and you're hoping that Exceed can find whatever was flowing through him back in that map number 1, because that was the difference in this team. Capsule played good, Fire played good in that control. Hixie started to pick it up, but when you don't have that takeover presence from any one player on it, good is not good enough against this G2 team, who does have somebody like Nero, who is able to start off so strong, be that presence, and then you have Geo alongside him. Whenever Nero goes down, somebody is there to layer that pressure after him. It was a whooping on the defense across that control, and there was nothing that FiveFears could do in their attack whatsoever. Hats off to them for bringing it to that round 5, but it didn't feel like they were in control of that map 3 at all, at any point of this game.
No, it's a great way to put it. The feeling inside that map was very much of, yes, we're seeing around 5, but that's only because offense is so damn difficult on Hacienda, rather than feeling that FiveFears actually had a chance. Would have loved to see a bit of an upset, a bit of a surprise roll for an underdog story out here. But G2 Esports remind us that they are pretty damn brilliant when it comes to control defense.
There's still a chance for that upset to happen.
Of course.
FiveFears, they're not out of it just yet, but when we did see FiveFears Online beat this G2 team, it was in 4. This time, it's going to have to go 5 if they want to get it done. You're going back into the hard point for that chance to see it, but before we get there, let's break down some of these stats.
Yeah, having a quick look at this. I mean, it's kind of what you expect out of G2. There's Geo gets 26 and 20. That's a good performance, of course. Nero 28-23 with 3.5k damage. Very impressive stuff out there. But it's one of those, you feel like this G2 team, when they're at their best, is when they're very balanced between them.
I'd be so frustrated if I'm Exceed when you look at those stats. Almost 3,000 damage for 16 kills.
Ooh,
you're
we've all been there.
In the kills for the assist column, you saw it there. It's just a lot of those clutch moments that we saw on the Skyline really come into effect, just not translating here in the control.
Yeah, we've all been there in our ranked games, ladies and gentlemen. That's a tough place to be mentally walking into.
Guys, I'm shooting.
Yeah, I am.
They're just not dying.
Yeah. Am I shooting peas? Like, what's going on here? Like, this is ridiculous. Someone's changed my gun. But yeah, tough times for Exceed. And we talk so often about how when these two teams were squaring up as a 4, it was so often that you'd lose that first engagement. Those tiny moments there, maybe you miss one extra bullet, but that's the difference between being on a pro roster and being a challenger to that pro roster.
It's also a representation of, albeit it was not the greatest performance that we've seen, but it's not like he's not being involved in these plays with the rest of FiveFears. So Exceed wanted to bounce back after this one. You know he's going to be the team player to lead this team into some hype moments. They got to kick it up. Let's see some energy on the stage from FiveFears.
Well, it will be pinstripe, back and forth, 2 each on the feed, and well, Kenny's going to make it 3 apiece. So Hixie and Kenny then last fight over this P1, and he gets the support in time if you are Hixie. So the early points going the way of FiveFears. Of course, it's definitely a marathon here on Vault. It's certainly not a sprint. And you want to look for that P2 rotation to come through, and Fire catches Estriel by surprise. A lot of kills go the way of the boys in blue. And you are holding on if you are G2, but you can see the nerves here as Kenny pushes out towards poolside.
It was a really hot start in the Hardpoint back on that Skyline. FiveFears quickly came out to a lead. It was G2 who were forced into a comeback scenario. They almost got it done, but that's where you really look to trust that this FiveFears team can do it again.
You do manage to lock down these P2 spawns early. Capsule with a fight that looked like he should never have won, and then a beautiful second into Estriel as well. He was flexed on over towards the AR for a moment. You're deep on this P2 side. You are pushed in towards this backline, but the reinforcements arrive. Geo with 2, Kenny with another. And if you are Fire right now, you're just biding time, waiting for your boys to arrive.
That is a great start from your AR lineup. Flank coming in from Kenny. See if he can do some more damage to the setup, and he does exactly that. Shoots 2 in the back line. It's only Fire here to see if he can get in and break. Nero shuts him at the front door, and Kenny making some plays for the team.
Yeah, Kenny roaming right now. Feels like he's marauding, hunting his opponents down, getting very aggressive on those push-outs, and it's a wonderful thing to see. But well, he starts to try and get that P3 rotation on, or at least relieve the pressure on the front line. Will fall. FiveFears will get that rotation in. They will start to set up towards new. But that being said, there isn't really a setup at all here. You're simply partway across the map.
Everybody spread out for FiveFears. See if you can look for some clues to the setup onto P3. So far, so good in the kill feed. Nobody can hop the hill right away, but they are going to jump in there. Lots of time off this. You're putting focus onto the P4 side as you're trailing by in and around 30 points, give or take. Kenny still frying in this map.
Fire here to try and draw a bit of resistance at all. This is not a spot you want to lose when it talks about that P3 to P4 rotation, and Estriel prioritizes that fight. Comes out on top, scoops the AR, gets himself up into the top balcony. Well, he's going to try and cover over, but Exceed will at least get 2. One off a brilliantly placed grenade. But Nero will answer back himself, who played in through the flank, hit through mid, collapses in, and at least threatens the backline of the FiveFears. And G2 Esports, you can see what they're happy to do here. They're happy to simply make this a nightmare for FiveFears to walk forward and set themselves up for this P4.
You put so much focus here, and it's not going to pay off. We haven't seen too many players actually achieve breaks on P4 across day 1 and I guess day 2 whenever we go to this map. So you're in the hot seat right now if you're FiveFears. See if you can get it done. Fire going to open up a lane out towards Art, but the rest of the team trying to accomplish at least crossing the street to get into position to punish these players inside. Hixie takes out Geo, but 3 go down immediately, and G2 weathering the storm.
Kenny and Estriel just locking it down right now. 22 and 13 between them, and the 5 spree in the hands of Estriel. Nero, not to be outdone, finds himself at second. And right now, if you are FiveFears, it feels a little bit part. G2 just set themselves up for that P4. You had Estriel up in art for so long, and every time FiveFears try and move forward, they're being cut down by these ARs.
Xy's trying to look for Estriel at least. He goes down before that streak can turn into anything, but heading into the second set of rotations, Andy, this is a big difference. It really feels like a complete 180 from what was happening back in map 1.
Oh, Hixie's got a big job on here. Finds 2, gets the information on the 3rd as well, gets the bullets in, backs off to kind of hand that over, but doesn't stay alive. And it feels like an important moment for FiveFears, almost the way we saw in map 1. You do not want this gap to get much wider. You get bodies onto that P1, but you've let G2 out of that P4 relatively simply, and they're here to contest this, at least keeping it neutral for now. They'll be happy with that. Hixie with 2, Capsule with another will get it back in your hands, but there was going to be another hit coming through.
Well, 3 go down, and spawns are going to flip there. Flank coming in from Nero. That's going to take fire out from behind, allow for the rest of the players to trickle on through that front door. 3, make it 4th out again for G2 Esports. Starting to feel really good in this matchup, Andy.
Starting to look great. Estriel's going to get all the intel about the players hitting street. Capsule's going to try and stick around for this fight. Estriel just about gets it done. If the nade had come through, you're sticking at least one and potentially taking 2. But Hixie will find himself up double to push in towards P1. So it's now about that P2 rotation. There's not going to be the setup coming through for G2, and Kenny's got to be careful not to overextend here. FiveFears won't recognize him coming through the back line, so they're going to have to try and send, and it is at least going to be mostly held for now, but I speak too soon. Kenny here to arrive and try and support as his boys fall.
All right, 3 down. You have that first setup. Even going to take care of Kenny, who is looking for the late flank through pool, but reading the spawns in the back, see if you can at least temper this retake from G2. He was some good shots there. Kenny wants to fight in the backline. Capsule going to push out, but he's got so much work to do on the inside. Has to hit some help, and Hixie is right there alongside him. How much more can you get now? FiveFears need to lock this down and soak the hill, and Hixie is doing everything to make Capsule just live inside this hill. Finessing, turning around, but he doesn't need to. Hixie, what is going on over there?
A guy goes nuclear, and we hear the screams in the backline. The poor rotation into P2 from G2 will be something they regret, because FiveFears push themselves back in, but also handing over a heap of confidence to a man who needs it after a poor map 3. Hixie on 6 in a row, looking for his 7th. Will get support from Exceed and dive the hill to find time as well. Just 10 seconds behind of FiveFears. Now this second rotation has been beautiful.
Right back into this game, off of 1 hill. We're looking at a tight game. FiveFears are just bringing it back off of Hixie's 6 spree. Fire now, he's gonna hop the hill on 3 of his own. Respectively for the team. He has been so good across that Skyline into this vault now. Fire looking to take over inside the P3. He's good for 5 in a row now, soaking up the time.
Well, Hixie's good work as well, by the way. Continues off screen. He respawns, puts himself top art, and then just backs down players that were trying to flood mid in order to unearth him. So does a great job here of holding down a very important position, not just for now, but for moving over to P4. But 2 kills from G2 will suddenly open things up. So Hixie's got a big job on his hand. Does he read Estriel beneath him? The answer may well be no. He should find out now. And Geo, Nero, they time up for 2 great kills and may well flip out FiveFears just as the momentum was building to a peak.
Yeah, and you're going into a P4 that you did not get even close to breaking back in that first set of rotations. So this is where FiveFears have to be very cautious about where to break from. And they try to go through the middle of the map, but Kenny's got an angle, and that is going to lessen the lives of the inside of that P4 hill. Still fighting for it all, but Kenny holds things down to the back line, and the rest of the team wins their fights.
Gets the stun out as well to support this side door hit that Hixie's trying to make happen. Estriel will find Capsule off the back of it. Hixie does win that fight in the back on Kenny, so you're a little bit worried for G2. Head swiveling to try and find him. A huge fight, and Kenny wins it, having himself a great map so far. Estriel with 2 out front, support in hand as well. You're a little bit worried about your back. You're fine for now. You've managed to bat FiveFears away and re-establish a little bit of a lead here.
Kenny was building a wall in the back there, brick by brick, and Nero, he is holding things down in the front at the same time. FiveFears struggling on the P4s. Etienne, you need to get some of that magic for the rotations. If you're going to go there again, it's got to change.
The last time we were here, G2 was so good at getting from P4 to P1. You see Kenny there, he doesn't shoot anything, just gets all of the information. Unfortunately, his boys can't work off the back of it. But moments like this, oh, well, I was about to say, Nero usually so good at just staying alive, being a thorn in the side, not allowing defensive setup, but he will be cleaned up. Geo in a big fight, Capsule. Boys arrive. They've actually flipped the spawns here. I think FiveFears may be overextensive. We've still got 45 seconds on P1, so not a worry for now, but considering how this map's gone, you'll have to consider it soon.
Running the sub, Kenny's doing it all right now. He's going to go down. FiveFears a chance to hop this hill. 153, playing 185. Geo above the top. Can he get an angle onto this player?
Oh, wow.
Again, but Caps is flying, growing some wings. And they're seeing FiveFears fight as long as they can across this map. Exceed, it's his turn now. See if he can get anything done in a clutch scenario. Estriel not going to allow him to get the kill. And G2, they hold these spawns to new. Fire has to wait for the rest of his team.
I was about to say Estriel's got a big job on his hand because he could be the player to split this offensive wave. FiveFears so good at this early push towards P2, and it will yet again be G2 caught with their pants down a little bit. The rotation never comes through. They never get set up. Last time this let FiveFears back into the game. This could now be the hill that sees them take a lead.
That was seamless. And now look at Hixie. He's going to be so far pushed up. Unfortunately, not going to read the timing against Geo. Put some pressure onto the rest of your team to get active. Capsule's going to be all turned around. Fire on 5 in a row, looking to hold this hill down with the pistol. Fire keeps keeping his team alive, and he is taking over in the objective.
About to talk about how FiveFears potentially a little overconfident, a little bit overextensive, and get cut down by G2, leaving Fire on his own, but he burns his opponents. 6 in a row for the man tucked inside the hills. So much of his reputation on the line. Make it 7. Has the Hellstorm available to him as well, which might be huge for later on. But Estriel trying to just back up for a moment, doesn't really have the numbers around him. You've got to consider the rotation. The P3s have not been good either for G2. They've got to find a way to set up something.
But this is where we got to put focus on FiveFears. If you want to win this map, you cannot give up the P4 rotation this time. It has to be a focus. It has to be flawless. And G2, they know they're going to try to expose you in that factor.
Nero tucks in, Exceed finds 2, reads the pop-up, and you hear them get loud on that side of the stage. You need just over 30 to close this out and force that game 5. Capsule's going to reinforce your mid push. You're not too worried about P3. It's locking down that 4 that matters so much more.
Yeah.
Geo gets in then, trying to just unearth this FiveFears squad from their roots.
It'd be nice to get this time, but you don't need it. Everybody's got to hold strong. Fire, Capsule on 3 down again. FiveFears going to jump on in, looking to push further and further to a win. They cannot win it here, but every second counts.
Does indeed. G2 understand the task at hand. Find themselves the early kills to at least start to take away some of this scrap time. What could be huge scrap time, because FiveFears will still need 22 points. So this first defensive wave has to be perfect from FiveFears. Otherwise, G2 will be knocking on the door to steal it for themselves and take away the map.
Well, let's see if they got what it takes. Let's see if they get the chaps to put it to a map 5. 20 more seconds. Exceed now on fire. You hear him calling dead on stage, non-stop, and Hixie on the cross, keeping his life in art sustained. 10 more seconds as G2 looking to break one more time before we get that map 5. And somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to get in there, but Estriel goes down. Nobody gets in. And say it ain't so. FiveFears pushing us the distance.
Inside this venue, you could feel the shift in the air. FiveFears suddenly believed. Great rotations suddenly coming through. I was worried at points. We had poor rotations for P3. We had a disappointing performance at trying to break a P4. I thought we were done with this series. But all of a sudden, you come online. Fire finds 8 kills around P2, backed up by his boys. And you took the lead once, and that was all you needed. You never let it go. You close it out. We will see that game 5, and the boys there will be feeling very confident, considering just how they just performed.
A troublesome season all year long for Hixie, Exceed, Fire, and Capsule. And Capsule gets his chance in C9. He doesn't really get a chance to prove himself too much. One major, like, you cannot gauge him off of that. And Hixie, yeah, a tough start to the year. He had to go back, figure some things out, but he's risen back into the ranks. He's looking good. Now you come together on this FiveFears team, top 4 at DreamHack. You miss out on EWC by a map 5 round 11 to Ben Bance. You still get a chance at EWC. Carolina, they fumbled the bag. And here you are. You're proving your worth. You're showing that, hey, other challenger teams, they didn't even get a shot to a game 5. But here we are versus G2, trying to push this Group A the distance, make some magic, and make some upsets.
It is definitely a team standing tall. And in FiveFears, you've got a squad that believe now that they can make this happen, that they can push themselves into a bracket play situation. The thing is, of course, when we look towards the next game, my friend, it will be a search and destroy. They struggled there last time, lost in the first bloods, and G2 profited as such. So that's what they've got to fix up when we look through the rest of the series. Take a quick look at this scoreboard, of course, and it's Fire, 36 and 26, 4,600 damage out there on the map. And so often we speak about these teams at the top end of our challenger level. They're often full of players that have been kicked out of the Pro League, often put in a position where it's like, okay, well, how do I manage to get my reputation back into a position that someone will take a chance on me? Turning up here in Saudi Arabia at the Esports World Cup and dropping that kind of performance to force game 5 is a hell of a way to remind everyone you know what to do.
It was Exceed in map number 1. It was Fire in map number 4. A good old fist pump at the end to get them into that game 5. G2 now pressured out to a dealership search and destroy, something that has treated them so well towards the back half of the year. But can they get it done against FiveFears? We'll find out soon after this break. Well, it's a story every single time we get a professional versus amateur team going up against each other. Can the amateur team do it? We've seen it in the past, Raleigh. We've seen it in the past in EWC last year. Some do, but many don't. And for a lot of the stories this year, it has been challenger teams getting dealt with, and the pro teams have been easing their way through the brackets so far. Omit, they had their chance versus FaZe. That's a caliber that nobody saw coming. But now for FiveFears, it a chance to push into a matchup where Capsule gets to play his old team. They're taking us to a dealership search and destroy map 5 to see if they can get it done.
Yeah, they are indeed, and they will have the momentum coming into this one, considering how they performed in the back portion of that map 4 to send us here in the first place. But, of course, looking over the other side of the stage at this G2 Esports roster, they won the previous Search and Destroy. They're great on the first bloods, and fantastic when it came to converting those on the defensive side of things. So that's typical of their play. If they do get the first blood, they're usually ruthless about it from there on, so we've got to see more of that here in dealership. The thing for me, of course, is the pressure. How do you feel it right now? Because you've been pushed to that game 5 and every single one of those seats is not warm.
Well, here we go. Dealership out the gates is Astral for the first blood. Capsule going to trade it, and it looks like we got a bang right away. Capsule finds a second one. It's in the back line. Astral trying to bring this one back as much as he can. A triple kill from Astral, and he takes over in that first round for G2. Fast and furious.
Well, blink and you miss it. G2 will just mop it up inside a set of gunfights, essentially. Search and Destroy, eat your heart out. Essentially playing P1 Hardpoint on that one. The G2 off to the best start. And it's an interesting one for FiveFears that you're willing to try and get involved in it like that. You know that in a lot of those opening engagements where you've squared up 4v4, you haven't been winning so much today. The fact that they even try it there, interesting start, but now they get to move the bomb to dictate where they want to go.
If you're going to do it at any time, might as well do it at the start of the game. See if you can catch them off guard. But G2 don't falter. And they're going to bounce back in this S&D, just like we saw in the Hacienda for the first round. A good nade there from Exceed. No follow-up for the kill. And a couple of players of G2 are surrounding in towards the, at least, garage area. Turning around, Capsule, another double kill. 1 versus 2 for Estrel as Exceed's going to get over towards B. Bomb not going down right away. Want to catch a timing against this Estrel play through mid. They see him, tags up, and now the bomb's getting laid.
You just don't see the legs poking out from behind the bomb to let you know it's going down. You do have your Semtex available. Could have been used to check, but 4 in a row and RCXD in hand. We're going to try and find a bit of intel. You get a shoulder from Exceed. It's well executed from Exceed. The nade doesn't even connect, so the situation goes from bad to worse with 30 seconds left.
We're going to open the garage, see if you can bait out some audio cues, but FiveFears know exactly how to play this one, and not this time. Astral, he has the RCXD, but they do shut down any progress towards that Hellstorm. So maintaining presence in this S&D, FiveFears battle back.
Very important round as well. We've spoken so much about how good G2 are at certain things. They tend to struggle a bit more on offensive rounds. They take that first one, and then they're typically very good at winning a defensive round. They take first blood. We get a flip of that script here. Important for FiveFears to stay, of course, within touching distance and not allow a lead to be built. Witnessed many a comeback, but round 5, game 5, sorry, on dealership. G2 Esports tend to be quite comfortable here.
Yeah, they do. It is a lone effort from Kenny. Watching any presence out towards B. He's going to spot somebody, the information, and a nade from Capsule catches Nero before he can sneak into the garage. That's going to fault any presence at A.
Going to find progress towards mid here, wondering if that A death would bait a lot of FiveFears players in towards the rotation. It doesn't happen, and Capsule's patience pays off. Gets that kill onto Estrel and 2v4 for G2.
Taking over, and he's going to see the bomb is down. Nobody has to move for FiveFears. You just have to make sure that they're not slipping into the flank. As Capsule's going to have some pressure, at least towards that middle window. He knows there's an opportunity, but all he has to do is hold his ground. G2, 32 seconds to retake this bomb and start getting anything going in towards this round. Kenny not going to get that early information onto Capsule, but Geo trades it out. 1 versus 2, 24 seconds to get to A or B and lay the rock. And it looks like he's going to go over towards A, where Exceed is waiting. You chose wrong.
We got to look at a FiveFears defensive round there then. Happy to give up A. Nades go on out over and ensure that you get that first blood. But an important change on what is tradition there. Typically, if a team finds that, they then flood that A site and use their numbers. They lay in wait. They recognize that G2 are going to try and rotate that bomb, and they just catch them.
And for somebody who has something to prove, Capsule's been so good this series. Just in general, playmaking, even in the control, when they got beaten so bad, it felt like Capsule was there. Double kills, triple kills. He's running so many routes, and he is so confident right now.
Well, FiveFears is going to send two up towards B here. Capsule's just trying to get that intel through mid. Hixie, well, he's going to be on his own for a moment, isolated, hoping that his boys can find some sort of blood. At least intel to let him know he can move forward towards his B sites. And never mind, they don't like the look of it. They're rotating back towards A. All the nades have been used up, so they feel a bit more confident. But then again, that call comes through. Just an endless change from FiveFears.
See, early spot into the player for Office. Capsule goes down, trying to play through mid alongside that contact. 3 versus 4, no progress onto the bomb sites, and they're going to try for B, but Geo is watching it pre-fire. Just to shut down any chance maybe to cross. Good damage in from Geo as he is making it so difficult to go towards this B site, but he's going to bring this one into a 3v3. Bomb's looking to get planted. Geo's going to see him, doesn't get the kill. Somehow FiveFears stay alive.
I'm with you on somehow. Geo looking over from that window, going to want that one back. Hixie tucked himself deep into the office. Fire's just trying to hold this mid-hallway. Has that view on the bomb, so he knows that no one's on top of it, and only 20 seconds to really hold off. Wants the support from Exceed, though, because you're lacking the numbers.
Exceed's joined him inside. Fire for the first contact. 2 versus 2, 17 seconds. Nobody's hopped the bomb, and Estrel goes down inside this game. Exceed now clutching up from a 3v4 all the way down to the 1 versus 1. Exceed turning up for the team on day 2.
It's a little bit, I go back to the comment you made about somehow. It felt like the offensive play there from FiveFears initially was all over the place. They were uncertain about where they wanted to be. They had no way of really moving G2 around or unearthing them from their defensive positions. Felt like a little bit like guesswork, playing blind, and yet still managed to get that bomb down and come out on top in a round.
It's like you're tripping to the finish line.
Basically stumbling all the way there, and you hear the celebrations at the end. They understand that they got a big round there.
And Geo, he probably tagged him up, what, like 10 shots in? That's going to be a furious one. Exceed on 5 in a row. I'll play through the mid. Fire, first blood, instantly traded by Nero. Open up the red over towards B. Hixie looking to get it behind. He's at least taking somebody to the grave with him. And that's keeping your team in a chance here. Exceed finds his 6th. Putting Nero in a 1 versus 2. Lots of time to make this work.
Exceed's unsure, and the timings could work against him as he tries to pivot and watch a little bit too much. Capsule's just trying to try and hold this close corner, but if you get a 1v1 as Nero here, I was about to say you might well look good in it, but it goes too high while Capsule stays low. So multiple rounds here on the bounce for FiveFears, giving them 3-round lead. And how that pressure that we spoke about coming into this round 5 builds on the side of the stage when you're the pro team. You're supposed to be full of the superstars. You're supposed to be swatting this challenge away.
Capsule is eating today, man. He is on fire for this squad alongside Exceed. Just since game 1, Capsule has been there a little bit more consistent, but I'm so impressed with how FiveFears are just fighting through this game. G2 still not out of it. Lots of game to be played here. Kenny for the first blood. Kenny finds 2. Kenny finds 3. It's finally traded, but it's all for naught. It feels like 8 in a row for Exceed, and that's where the streak ends. Finally, G2 stop the bleeding.
You see the sigh of relief on Kenny's face there at the end as we get that look in the player shots. He understands it's a big moment for him to shut down that A push because so far a lot of the play, of course, over towards B. Teams aren't feeling very comfortable there. He's isolated, he's on his own and finds 3 all by himself to yet again put FiveFears in the position of we can't make this A play happen. You're going to have to continue to send it back to B.
What a play from Kenny. I don't think he reloaded a single time. That had to be one clip in a triple kill. It was so fast. Exceed gets 8 in a row. I don't know if he has that Hellstorm, but would be a great tool if he does get it. Kenny's going to get the information that there is presence onto this B site. Capsule traded out with Nero yet again. 3 versus 3, still trying to slowly work their way towards this B site, and it does look like Exceed has that Hellstorm.
Lovely pull up there from production to let us know. FiveFears have been very good typically at being aggressive on the defense here towards B and not giving it up, but actually a change in strategy here. Two bodies have rotated over towards A. A pinch setup attempting to come through.
I was gonna say, do you use that Hellstorm right now? Maybe call it in, pinch them into the site, force them in through mid, but nobody's in a position that would be able to follow up from this. So it is going to be a double flank through the back. Nero not ready for it, brings things into an advantage for FiveFears. On the other side, it is just being hemmed by fire right into the contact of Hixie. Now early damage, not able to get Estriel down just yet. 2 versus 2. Kenny spotted. Exceed, what a shot. 10-2 now in this game. You know that Estriel's on the site, but there's 23 seconds. You have to work fast to get this retake going, or G2 are slowly going to bring it back. Not this time. FiveFears, 5-2.
Absolutely loved the play call. So often, FiveFears defend this B site with the aggression on the front. So often willing to just flood that site and back their opponents off through the offices. Instead here, they actually give it up. They seed it. They pretend that they've actually decided to go and check out either mid or over towards that A bomb. Instead, it's that double hit coming through on the rotation. You're not ready for it if you're G2. And look at the faces of these players. They know they're hanging on by a thread.
1 round at a time. 1 kill at a time for G2. This is where you test your merit. I mean, all these players, they've been in scenarios like this constantly. They've earned their place in the league. Now, they need to keep their place in EWC. On the attack for FiveFears, everything's going to slow down, and this is where we're going to see Exceed drop the hammer.
Well, Hicks is the man with the bomb, so as the cruise comes over, look for him to start to make progress forward. Going to be supported by Capsidol. Hellstorm's just going to take its sweet, merry time to try and force G2's back for as long as possible, and you get the first blood too.
They're on site. Nero has to get an angle here, but it's not planted for him. Slowly waiting for a chance to strike. Fighter's playing so deep in the back, and here he goes. Nero out front, 2 kills, 2 versus 2. Nero trying his best to dig his team back into this. 32 seconds left. Exceed bringing it down to the wire, and it's all on the shoulders of Estriel. 1 versus 2, and it's not meant to be. You go to EWC, you say there's nothing to fear. Well, here's 5 reasons you should fear this team.
And they get loud to let the boys on the opposite side of the stage know. It's another tough showing for this G2 Esports roster, but for FiveFears, certainly exceeding expectations here. They were supposed to be the squad that didn't belong. They technically didn't qualify. They get here, and the wildcard teams show up, perform, and yet again, overcoming so many odds, not just when